Let's start with the introduction. Just going to introduce each of ourselves briefly, and then we'll get started with the presentation. My name is Vince Van Guyver. I'm a senior finance and political science major, and I am on the Haiti team.
My name is Maddie Feltz. I'm a senior political science major, and I'm on the Uganda team.
My name is Andrea Vale. I'm a junior English major, and I'm also on the Uganda team.
I'm Annie. I'm a political science and anthropology major, and I'm on the Haiti team.
It's her birthday today.
It's your birthday? Happy birthday.
I'm Alexis. I'm a junior industrial designer, and I'm on the Uganda team.
I'm Kate. I'm a graduate student, and I'm on the Haiti team.
I'm Emily. I'm a senior gender studies major, and I'm on the Bangladesh team.
I'm Aaron. I'm an econ and applied math major, and I'm on the Bangladesh team as well.
My name is Jello. I'm a sophomore econ and English major, and I'm on the Bangladesh team as well.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Great. So we were tasked by the State Department with taking a look at foreignassistance.gov, which is their central transparency website, and taking a look at a couple things. First of all, looking at how we can actually improve the website itself, but also looking at 3 specific case studies, country-specific case studies, to see how we can increase the visualization and usability of the data on the website for relevant user groups in each of these 3 countries. So to give you some background on foreignassistance.gov and foreign assistance in the U.S., the U.S. currently assists over 100 different countries through 20 different government organizations. And foreignassistance.gov was created in response to the Open Government Initiative that President Obama signed in 2009, as well as the Paris Declaration on Aid Effectiveness, and essentially attempts to bring the U.S. up to international standards for data reporting. So basically any person who wants to, any individual, any government, any NGO can go on foreignassistance.gov and see exactly where the U.S. is giving foreign aid money to. We were tasked specifically with the job of coming up with 2 deliverables by the State Department, the first of which was an e-brochure to actually look at these 3 different case studies and find different user groups that are country specific that would benefit the most from appropriate data visualization tools. And then the second deliverable that we had was to actually come up with general improvements for the website itself by looking at other governments, what they do, other international organizations for transparency, what they do to show how data is used, and kind of come up with our recommendations for how to go about improving fa.gov. So our analysis consisted of overall research, downloading the data, playing with it, trying to visualize it, trying to see how it can best be used, as well as looking at these country-specific examples, identifying specific organizations and groups that can benefit from the data, and figuring out how we can best use the data for them.
So we're going to go ahead and start off with Bangladesh. So for a brief history of what the U.S. aid landscape looks like in Bangladesh, the U.S. has been one of Bangladesh's principal development partners since they gained their independence in 1972, providing over $6 billion in aid through USAID. And we're working in areas across the spectrum from poverty reduction, food security, countering violent extremism, other array of areas. And as of 2016, Bangladesh is actually the largest recipient of U.S. aid in Asia after Afghanistan and Pakistan. And USAID is committed to helping Bangladesh achieve its goal of becoming a middle-income country by 2021. So as you can see, the U.S. and Bangladesh have a really strong foreign assistance relationship.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk briefly here about what that actually means in terms of placing this data in the context of either a historical narrative or at least a narrative of what aid looks like today. So the data itself that we're talking about, if you actually go to fa.gov, is a simple spreadsheet in Excel. Now it's a massive spreadsheet up here on the left with columns and rows that kind of go on forever, and without a background in research or in data analysis, it's basically useless. Data points are listed by transaction, so it's not even as if a row necessarily corresponds to a project itself. It might just be accounting changes. And for that reason, we wanted to think hard about how you could actually transform kind of the data and the data formatting itself to make it into a nice visual, useful thing. So transforming it from this to this, and if you hit the next slide, this is what one of those kind of nice, pretty green boxes on the bottom right looks like. So by using a few functionalities in
Is this the
Excel,
data for Bangladesh?
this is the data for Bangladesh, yeah. By using a few kind of simple Excel tools, which are detailed in the handbook and aren't, that's fun to explain in the presentation, you can actually get very useful information here. So instead of simple transactions, you can actually see, okay, we're spending about 25% of US foreign aid on economic development. That's something that can actually be useful in telling a story about data. So if you're a journalist, that might be interesting in terms of, what does the overall aid landscape look like? If you're an NGO, which we'll explore here in a minute, that might be useful in terms of looking at, what sectors aid is going to in the country. That broader narrative is what we were really trying to bring out in the data. So example then, what does this do in practice? I've just listed a few here of ways that you can set up the data, so I won't read through each one of these. But, I think it's interesting to consider, for example, something like using this data to do a ranking. So Johns Hopkins University ranked as the X largest implementing organization in regards to greatest total award values related to health. If you're an NGO, that might be useful to know that, hey, Johns Hopkins University is the biggest institution in terms of implementing health projects in Bangladesh. That's a really useful piece of information when we're telling these narratives.
Exactly. So based on what Emily and Aaron just said, we will move on to the specific discussion about the Bangladesh government, about its need and interest in how foreign aid government is going to help it achieve its goals. And the first need, as we talked about, Bangladesh is very committed to the national development and very committed to the SDG goals, very cooperative. And the second need is there's a historical background here that the Islamic Party, I think since the early 2000s, became the oversees the NGO bureau in Bangladesh, which brought a lot of potential illicit funding concerns in the government ever since. And they started to have a more discreet screening to all the NGOs back at that time. And so they do have a need to monitor to see NGOs funding. I'm sorry, yes. And based on what Aaron was just showing to you, like the data, different kind of more, yes, that we believe that first goal, foreign aid, FAGOG can facilitate the communication between different foreign aid funding strategy. Between first, the dynamic would be USAID and central government. So if you see, like, for example, 25% of the foreign aid are denoted in the economic development, Bangladesh government might say, that's probably we want more or we want less, and we'll go to different sectors. So there can be a more efficient negotiation process in this, hey, blah, blah, blah. And the second dynamic would be the central government and the local governments. Because the local governments might not have that much information about how much money is actually going from USAID to the government. But by showing this transparency through the website, they can also negotiate with the central upper level government to say, hey, we see these 25% is going to economic development, and we're wondering how much can we get out of the national funding. So in terms of summary, it can enable the Bangladesh governments on different levels to make more well-informed decisions about foreign aid development. And the second need, for example, when they actually get to know how much USAID money is going to different sector, they can also see the recipient organization in the data set. And then they can have a more well-informed knowledge about how much money is going to each NGOs, and if there's something that they don't really know about, they can continue to contact the NGOs further and have a better knowledge about, have a better tool to monitor this funding sources. And we'll move on to the...
So our second target group is non-governmental organizations, and we wanted to focus on this within Bangladesh specifically because NGOs are such a pervasive on the development landscape. There's over 26,000 registered NGOs. And a lot of them have recently moved from kind of an advocacy role, so like advocating for human rights and social justice, toward more of a service delivery model. And one area of service delivery that is really been important in Bangladesh in the recent years is the area of maternal health. So we thought we would focus on what the U.S. is doing related to maternal health and reproductive health. And we also noticed that in fiscal year 2015, using the tables that Erin was showing you guys, 15% of U.S. foreign aid to Bangladesh went to the category of maternal and child health, and an additional 10% went to family planning and reproductive health. And these are categories that were listed on the Excel sheet itself, so I did not make these categories. So we thought we would look at one specific organization that is not currently receiving any funding in this area, but is working on the issue area to hopefully help the U.S. in continuing to improve maternal health in Bangladesh, while also helping an organization that might need additional funding. So we're going to be in our e-handbook targeting the Bangladesh Women's Health Coalition, and ways in which we think they can use the data is they can monitor similar organizations that are receiving funds. So for example, already listed in the Excel sheet, CARE and Gender Health, Plan International, and some other organizations are already working on the area of maternal health, and they're receiving X amount of funding, which will be laid out in our handbook. So that might be helpful for the Women's Health Coalition to plan and disperse funds to see budget flows on local organizations. They can also then plan their own budget and submit proposals to get U.S. funding. And they can also hopefully participate in some evidence-based advocacy using that data.
Great, so moving on to Haiti now. To give you a brief background of U.S. aid in Haiti. The U.S. has been Haiti's single largest trading partner globally for several decades. A lot of this comes from the U.S.'s strategic interest in Haiti just because they're so geographically close to one another. So today in Haiti you can find U.S. commercial banks, U.S. agribusiness and manufacturing, and a lot of other U.S. multinationals and U.S. companies. And coinciding with this, the U.S. has been Haiti's largest source of aid since 1970. We've seen from reading with Mountains Beyond Mountains, from some of the other readings we've done in class, that kind of the U.S. has become very involved, not just economically, but politically in the country. And their aid has really been part of this in trying to influence Haitian policy over the years. While aid was fairly consistent from 1970 to 2010, the earthquake really changed things a lot. So a lot of the data that we were working with was actually post-2010, this $4.6 billion that the U.S. poured into the country. The U.S. had 4 strategic goals when pumping in this money over the past couple of years to kind of recover the country and bring it back and kind of bring it economically develop. So they worked on energy and infrastructure, food and economic security, health and other basic services, and governance and rule of law. 85% of this money actually came directly to U.S. organizations working in the country. So Chemonics, which is an agribusiness based in D.C., they received over $60 million alone to work in the country. The NYPD, the Miami-Dade Police Department, they were actually given funds to go in and train members of the Haitian police forces and Haitian military. So not actually a lot of this money went directly to Haitian organizations, which has kind of been a criticism that we've seen. But USAID kind of counters that by saying that maybe indirectly through subcontractors, through subservice work, over 400 Haitian organizations have actually been involved in this $4.6 billion in aid. We're going to move on now to Annie.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to cut out of this presentation for just a minute and show you guys what the actual sort of draft of our handbook is sort of looking like, because this is very out of context, because our actual sort of task that we were given was to create an e-handbook that can be then uploaded to a website, distributed to possible embassies or NGOs. So yeah, so this is a rough draft, and just sort of as an aside, this was kind of emailed, this wasn't kind of emailed, it was emailed to the State Department, our contacts there, and we're going to be getting comments back on it today. We kind of have it separated into these different, as you can tell, these country-specific groups, and then I'm just going to use our sort of Haiti one as to move along with the presentation in Haiti. So we focused on the history and context, with which Vince just gave you, and then specifically in Haiti, there's a huge NGO sort of issue. There's a lot of criticisms about the money and where it goes in Haiti. So even American corporations come under a lot of scrutiny in the past couple of years because of sort of fund mismanagement and where did this $6 million go kind of thing. And so by giving, as Vince described, so much money to individual organizations, the the U.S. government has really circumvented the Haitian government and diminished state-to-state aid, which has basically caused the Haitian government to not have good infrastructure when it comes to social service delivery. It's not really depended upon by the people, so citizens in Haiti would look to NGOs rather than the government to provide services that they need. So this is kind of the landscape that we think that FA.gov and transparency can have a really huge impact in. Specifically, one user group that we're looking at is journalists and activists. So you'll see this list is